Welcome, everyone. This is Our Android Week with Alan Furstenberg in San Francisco, California, Bruce Turner in Lynchburg, Virginia, Duke Carrico in Kingsport, Tennessee, Michael Banks in Augusta, Georgia, home of the Masters, and Nate Swanner in Portland, Oregon. This is Our Android Week. And welcome. Good to have you with us. We are all over the place, but there's Nate in Portland. But Alan, say hello. You are in San Francisco, California, I believe.
Yep. I'm calling in from the airport tonight.
And I was joking that it sounded like Sreek's house with the little kitties playing. So we'll talk a little bit about why you're there and stuff a little bit later on in the show. And also we will be... one hot topic that came out today is Google's killing off Google Currents and upping their game with their magazine thing. So we'll talk about that. And I remember when we initially reviewed Google Currents, I think that was before this show. It was on Google Plus Week. But we'll talk about that briefly. But first we have a Neptune Pine story. Was this Bruce or Nate who put this in? It's lots of news about watches this week.
Yeah, I tossed this one in. Neptune Pine is a Kickstarter campaign for another smartwatch. It met its Kickstarter goal in about a day. The difference between Neptune Pine and all the rest is, one, it's about 4 times the size, but it has cellular antennas, so it's meant to be an all-in-one device. And kind of like Alan and I have been talking about here and there. Whoa, it's loud at the airport. Kind of like Alan and I have been talking about off and on since Google Glass and when the smartwatch craze kind of started. You need to really leave smartphones behind. You're going to need an all-in-one device. I like the concept of the Neptune Pine. I think for me, it's a little big. It's about half the size of a normal cell phone right now, and that's pretty bulky. But it does have pretty much everything built in. It's got dual cameras, dual flash. You can actually snap it off the wristband pretty easily, take a picture if you need to. But again, it's pretty bulky, and I don't know that a lot of people are really going to that this is going to be super widespread just for that fact. To wear that on your wrist is
truly gigantic. I mean, it's like
it looks like you're on house arrest.
See, they had to get an Asian guy for this video because only an Asian could pull off that accessory. This gigantic thing.
Right.
I mean, he pulls it off though. He looks cool. Rico Swap.
It looks cool if that's your thing, but I just
Cadeas, our Google Plus Week regular watcher is he could pull that off. He's got all these accessories. I would look silly because I've got little wrists, right? I wouldn't be a good piano player. So they did very well. Is this an advice that is just it's a form factor issue, or it just doesn't grab you, or?
I just don't think that it's going to. I think it's just too large. I think that's just what it comes down to.
So this is like the early calculators. They'll get smaller.
Yeah, I think it'll. This is a very alpha product, I think, and I think it will get smaller, and I think we'll start seeing that somebody's going to take, it's kind of like anything else. They're going to take what's big and gigantic, and they're going to shrink it down and make it smaller.
Says the guy with the headphones.
Hey, these sound great. The issue with smart watches, though, is that the screen size. You can't really shrink it down too much. You can make it slimmer, and I think that's the real issue here. It's just bulky. If the screen was that size, but it was somehow a little more flat and curved, I think it would be, kind of an insta-buy, but it's pretty bulky.
We're headed toward, I know with the other devices, like phones have gotten larger, tablets have gotten smaller. You recently got a tablet, and you opted not for the full size, but for the 7-inch version. I did the same. Of course, the Nexus 10 wasn't available when I bought my Nexus 7. So I guess it's all about that sweet spot between size and convenience versus functionality.
Yeah, you want something that's going to be able to do it all, but you also don't want something that's... if your tablet was 3 times as thick, would you still want it? Probably not. At that point, it just gets a little bit obnoxious.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really bring it around a lot. It's mainly in the can, you know. So it's not. I just wish
Just like
it
the
was.
rest.
Yeah,
Just like the rest of us.
when I purchase my Amazon gifts, 25% of the time. Okay, so anybody else want to weigh in on this? Bruce, are you going to buy this product and wear it at the
Bruce
office?
had Bruce had to leave,
Oh, okay.
and I won't be purchasing this product probably. I don't know. I'm glad to see somebody else is trying it. I'm glad to see people are poking around with different form factors and everything, but I'm not sold on this one. But we'll see.
Okay. So you want to do this the next smartwatch?
Yeah, the Samsung Galaxy Gear initial report was that it sold about 50,000 units, and that's units sold. I forget the actual research firm, but they were basically contemplating that they're selling between 8 and 900 a day, and that puts them around 50,000 since launch. They also put I think it was the Galaxy Round, that's their phone that's curved. They put that at around 10,000 sold, or about 100 a day. The real difference they kind of pointed out was that the Galaxy Round was more of a very beta device. It was just kind of like, hey, look what we can do. This is before Samsung started mass producing curved batteries, so it was a little bulky. It wasn't that great. The Galaxy Gear, though, they're positioning that as kind of a next generation device that's meant to change everything. And if you've read any reviews, you know that it has not done that. It has failed pretty miserably. Then there was also that report that about 30% of the watches purchased at Best Buy were getting returned. So, 50,000 units, that's pretty paltry. And then maybe even the next day, the report came out that they had shipped 800,000 units. So shipped isn't sold, and this initial report was about how many they sold, not how many they shipped. So it's hard to say, and Samsung hasn't come out with any official numbers. They won't say how it's doing, which is usually an indication, at least in terms of Samsung, that it's not doing well, because Samsung is very quick to talk about how much the Galaxy S4 sells and all the rest of it. But with this one, they're just keeping it really tight.
Doesn't it make Go ahead.
I got to tell you, I finally saw my first Galaxy Gear in the wild this week, and the person who had it said it was okay. They were, way underbilling it for what they were doing with it. They weren't enthused, and they had one. So really, this doesn't speak terribly well to the product.
Do you think?
No, it doesn't, and they just updated it to give you more notifications. The problem is, you get notifications that you have a notification. Like for instance, Google Plus. I know two people that have the Galaxy Gear, and they'd get Google Plus notifications, and the watch just says, "You have a notification. Go to Google Plus to check it out."
Yeah, well, that's not helpful in any way.
That doesn't help you at all.
Is it only the Note 3, or I don't remember?
It is the Note 3. The Galaxy S4 is getting an update, which is supposed to give it some functionality, but that's been, at least with AT&T, that's been kind of halted. So it's basically the Note 3 right now that has it.
Is this product just a joke, or are they going to be able to fix it with firmware upgrades and software upgrades?
I think Samsung across the board needs a firmware upgrade, but that's a whole nother topic for a whole
their
nother
problem
day.
was they should have waited for everyone else to come up with a smartwatch, and then taken all the best features from each of those and come up with like the super smartwatch like they do with their phones.
Honestly, I think everybody right now is trying to beat Google and Apple to the punch, and I don't see a point to that just because Google's got Google Now, and that, regardless of what else happens, that's going to take the cake. I don't see that anybody else can beat Google Now in terms of notification and being poignant. So,
but is that on iOS?
Google Now?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get it on iOS. I don't think that if Apple made a smartwatch, they would put it on there, but
no, but Apple would put on their notification center, which has a lot of Google Now-like features.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, now it's becoming more like Siri, and Siri's, I guess, going to become more like Now.
No, it's not. They haven't put it under Siri. Just like anyway, it's what they call their notification center, and it will do things like tell you how far it is from work. It'll notice that you've gone to someplace 2 Sundays in a row and tell you what the traffic is like the next Sunday. So these are very Now-like features that that the iOS notification center has picked up, and I think that's their challenge to Now.
Okay. So everyone's stealing from each other, which is innovation, I suppose.
innovative for sure.
Yeah, so that's a big fail. This whole you know what I
Well,
did?
if it's, you
I
know,
got
if
to
it
fix
sold,
this.
honestly, with Samsung, if it sold anything less than, a trillion devices, we consider it a fail. But 50,000, if that report is accurate, 50,000 is just completely underwhelming. Had they sold 200,000, I would have called that a mitigating success. I mean, that's not gigantic numbers, that's not widespread adoption, but even 200,000 would have been really impressive, all things considered. 50,000 is just, you know, even just in launching in the U.S., that's kind of a joke.
See, I saw that, and then I was thinking, I don't know if I buy this. And then Tech Meme posted it, and I was like, well, it's gonna become a thing, so I went ahead and shared it. But it's suspicious to me, even though it's obviously a crappy product. It's a joke, but it's suspicious that worldwide they would only sell 800 or 900 a day, given the number of Samsung devices that they sell. It just didn't make any sense to me. That seemed like a low number, even
No, I
for
agree. I agree that that seems like a low number. That's why I said, it
if
would
you'd
be
had
nice
the
if Sam.
Nexus Q available everywhere that this gear is available, they would have sold more than 800 or 900 a day.
Yeah, and it would have been nice if it will be nice would be nice if Samsung would just come clean and say this is how many we've sold. It is or it isn't as big of success as we thought, and we're listening to feedback right now, and we're going to improve it for with updates.
And the only
I think if
reason
if they would show a little bit of humility, they'd actually sell more of them.
they're even though that I don't know about that. That might be a stretch, but their response was, as I posted, it's a classic non-denial denial. Like, I won't dignify that comment with a response, or that's an outrageous allegation. You're not denying it, right? Because they said how many were sold, and Samsung's response was, we've shipped this many. That's has no relation to how many have sold.
No,
You
it
know,
doesn't. That's kind of my point.
so I'm
Their initial report
suspicious.
was they sold 50,000, and then another report says Samsung shipped 800,000. Well, that
Thank you for
that's not apples to apples. That's
yeah.
two completely different things.
All right, so we've beat up on smartwatches enough. One's too big, one is useless.
Yes.
So we're just gonna have to get iWatch or something, or this rumored Google Watch. Not that you'd know anything about rumors of a Google Watch, Nate.
The rumored Google Watch is known as Google Glass.
I don't want to get into that again. I'll just concede. Okay, so next up, the new FCC chairman. This guy's made a lot of news. Something else came out. He just said he wants. I forget what it was. I'll think about it for a second. Something came out yesterday that he's pushing. But the news related to us is he wants to make unlocking phones to be easier, and this would apply basically after your contractual obligation is complete with Sprint, Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, or I guess not T-Mobile. Then he wants the carriers to make it very easy to unlock your phone so it could be used on another compatible character if you chose to do so. Of course, the carriers are not into that because they sell
Well,
more phones.
he also wants carriers to make it very clear to customers when they can unlock and exactly what they can do when they unlock. So basically, what he wants is, if you're on a 2-year agreement and your 2 years is up, he wants AT&T or whatever carrier, to send you an email and say, hey, you're technically off contract. You can unlock your phone and you can take this phone to another carrier if you wish. You can do all these things. Just keep in mind that your phone is yours now, so don't bother us with it.
This is a no-brainer, right? I mean,
Well, it's a no-brainer for us, but carriers like to have their control.
Alan, would you like to argue that carriers shouldn't be allowed to unlock phones?
No.
Okay. Yeah, the other news he came out, it was phones, but not mobile phones. He wants to revamp the landline system because they're still using these switches and the copper and everything. And he wants to make it more internet-based, which I don't see how. The thing I like about the current landline system, I don't have one. I think my parents do. But if your internet goes out, you're screwed if you're using the stuff we use. if you're using like, I don't know why anybody would use those internet-based voice over IP things where you pay every month when there's so many free solutions. I guess if you're not a tech geek, that it's a little complicated for you.
Because the VoIP solutions are still vastly superior to the kludges that are out there.
Are they
I mean-
vastly superior to your cell phone?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, cell phones have a significantly limited bandwidth. With VoIP, you at least have a wider bandwidth that you can deal with most of the time. You don't have signal problems. You don't have atmospheric conditions. You don't have the fact that your battery is about to die.
Do they separate it out? For example, let's say you had Comcast phone service and Comcast internet. If I use a Magic Jack or the whatever the hell it is this week, the Hangout or Google Voice or whatever, to make a phone call over my internet connection, right? Or plugged in one of those, the different carriers have those boxes you can get if you live in a rural area. If you're watching Netflix, or your kid is, if you're uploading a YouTube video, if I talk to you over the computer, this happens with Craig Shipp all the time. We talk all the time, and he's on his computer, and his voice will start going in and out, and it's awful quality because that bandwidth is being sucked up by some other application. If you got Comcast Actual, do they reserve bandwidth for you?
This is one of the good things about some of the VoIP solutions, is they have quality of service settings as part of them. At least the good ones do. So they are able to prioritize voice over data. And this is actually one of the issues that you see come up every so often when it comes to network neutrality. But we're straying way off topic as usual.
Okay. It was the first thing I was actually interested in so far tonight, so thought I'd... Okay, so...
Well, then I'm sure we're going to cover it Friday night on Google Plus Week.
That's right. It's at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 Pacific, Friday night. Okay, so next up, Google... We all saw this, Nate. I think you wrote an article, or the Winter Wonderlands shops that Google's doing. This is not related to the barges, correct? These like in shopping malls or something?
Yeah, these are right now, I think, in like 5 or 6 different locations, major metropolitan areas like LA and New York, Chicago, those kind of things. And they're basically just little pop-up shops where they're going to show off, like the Nexus devices and things like that. They haven't really said what's going to be in them. They kind of had a mock-up, and it doesn't look like Google Glass is going to be involved, which is probably a good thing at this point. But you get to go check out actual physical devices. I think what was interesting to me was that it said that you could order it while you're there, but it didn't sound like you could actually get a device. So you couldn't go there, check out a Nexus 7, fall in love, and take it home right then. You could order it, and the Play Store will ship it to you, but they don't have any stock on hand, which is kind of interesting to me.
So it's like a Tesla showroom.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to sell you anything.
Right. I mean, you can go there, you can try all the Chromebooks and Nexus stuff out, and then, that's it.
So it's a publicity gimmick.
Yeah, of course it is.
They're kids with too much money.
Exactly. Billionaire Boys Club.
Yeah. Well, good for them. They'll get some publicity, and maybe some folks will check it out. Because I can tell you their presence in the stores, Apple absolutely blows them away. If you
I mean, they're getting better with it, but you're right. The Apple presence is there, and it's big, and it's important. Theirs is kind of like, oh, look, that's where we put the Chromecasts.
I mean, it's like, yeah, exactly. There's a nice stack of them, and they're lined up in a nice stack.
And they sell like hotcakes.
And there's like a freaking Taj Mahal for the iPad.
Yep.
With dancing girls and bacon.
Don't overblow it, Dan. don't undersell this one.
I'm impressed, Dan. You mixed like 3 different religions there.
I get around. I'm a Madonna fan.
Nice.
Not really. I'm an old Madonna fan, not the new Madonna. Okay, so I don't think she's had a good song in years. All right, so Google or Android 4.4 hits the Moto X for Verizon ahead of the Nexus. I'm still waiting. I've tried every trick except sideloading. I know I can sideload, but that's a pain in the ass. But do you have it on we both have it's the 2012 Nexus 7, right, Alan? Not 2011. It was 2012.
It was 2012 Nexus 7, and I don't know if I have it yet. Mine's been turned off since I came to California. So
Was it
it
banned
may be
there?
queued up for the upgrade yet, but I didn't have it when I left.
Okay. So the way to check is to go to about, right?
Yeah, you go to About Phones.
Yeah, so it showed up on your Moto X, Nate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can see it. There's my Nexus 4 with 4.3, and here is a Moto X on Verizon with 4.4.
And on Verizon, no less.
On Verizon, which blows my mind completely, because Verizon is always pointed to as the carrier that doesn't, will stay behind updates for their own, quote unquote security purposes, and I know people want to say, like, of course Motorola is a Google company, blah blah blah. That's really not the point. The point is that this is Verizon getting an update for Android ahead of just about everybody. I mean, this is incredibly impressive. Whether it's Google or not, this is insanely impressive that Verizon is doing this.
It's probably a Verizon win, right? I mean, don't they deliver to the carriers at the same time, and it's how long they drag their feet?
Well, I mean, it first goes to the OEM, so something like this would go to a Motorola or a Samsung first, and then Samsung would send it to, let's say, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, whoever, and say, okay, we're done. You got to do what you got to do, and that's where it usually gets kind of caught up. With a phone like a Moto X or a Galaxy S4, it gets caught up in the carrier. The carrier, Verizon is the worst about it. They'll say, oh, we got to run it through our security gamut and do all these things to it. And by the time they're, quote unquote done, nobody cares anymore because, the update's coming out. So it just gets really sticky. The fact that this literally came out at the same time as a Nexus device, and this is a branded phone that is not Nexus, that has a skin on it, a very slight skin, but it still has a skin on it through a carrier. It's impressive that it is updated. I'm wholly impressed by that.
Now the other thing I find interesting here is that the Moto X shipped with 4.2, didn't it? So it skipped right over 4.3.
That I don't know. I think I had 4.3 on it. It's a test device, so it was a test device, so I wasn't really,
Yeah, what I remember at the time is it came out with 4.2, and everyone was shocked because 4.3 had already been released.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. I think they used 4.2 and had their kind of skin on it. But whatever the case, I mean, it's getting an update ahead of everybody on Verizon. I'm literally blown away by that.
I agree. So we agree.
Okay.
Next subject, Dan.
Excellent. Got caught off guard there. I was putting my app of the weekend, switching mine. Okay, so next up is
in the signature.
this is a really well-run program by me. You can
I
tell.
just went back to my
Next up is software. Google Play. Are we not going to do the?
Yes, we are, Dan. Keep reading. Next up is Google Play for Education. It's gone live.
Okay, Google Play for Education is going live, and this is a big deal.
It could be a big deal, yeah.
It's basically a new. It's not like it is and it is. It's a marketing big deal, and it's a ease of use case for teachers because they're doing a lot of push because that was has historically been a big strength for Apple in classrooms, and on college campuses. And so Google's got a great product with these Android tablets. It's at a better price point than the Apple stuff, and but they're trying to make a game for education. They're trying to make it really easy for teachers to find things that are sort of Google's declaring them safe and pretty good, recommending them and giving them, it has to be moderated to be in there. So you want to talk about this, Nate, and explain your take on it?
Here's my take. When I was at I/O this year, it was a little strange. They announced it. They had a booth for it, but nobody wanted to discuss it. And PR didn't want to discuss it. The representatives at the booth didn't want to discuss it. It was all very strange to me. Essentially, what happens is a developer will create an app, and then kind of send it to Google, and Google will decide where it belongs. I mean, the developer can say, I wrote this for third graders, here's why, but Google kind of gets the final say in where it belongs. So, yeah, I mean, the thing about Google products like the Nexus tablets they're obviously much cheaper than an iPad Mini, but the ecosystem, especially in regard to education, is just terrible. They're gaining a lot with Chromebooks and things like that, but when you get into, like, we'll look at the LA School District, they just plopped down a ton of money for iPads for their students. I mean, the ecosystem is just that much better, and that's where Google really needs to make gains.
And I think while this is an interesting attempt for them to do so, I think they're kind of missing the boat about why the iPad is making gains in education. And it's not because there's great categorization, it's because parents were able to find the apps and convince the districts to use it. Google for some reason is going in the complete, attacking it from the other side. And I'm in a public place, so I can't express how I truly feel about it. But this is stupid, to be generous.
I agree with that.
I think what they're trying to do is a good idea in general. They're trying to create collections of things, clearly label the age appropriateness, clearly make distinguishing marks about where these belong, what subject matter, what category. But the fact is that legally speaking, you can't create an Android account for your 3-year-old. So, how is, parents are put in a bind here. And I think really what they should be opening this information up to parents as well as schools, and they've said they have no plans for doing so.
Which I agree with you is a very. I think that at this point in the game, I agree with you that that's a losing strategy.
We've got a comment from Devash. He says, or Devash, he says, today Google launched a physical card that he ordered for Google Wallet.
Yes, we're going to be discussing that on Friday Night Show, Google Plus Week.
Cool, excellent. Looking forward to that.
Actually, I take it back. We're going to be discussing it about 4 topics, but Dan didn't read that far ahead in the show notes.
Correct. Fail. All right, so I guess I'll move it up right now. Is that a Nate or a Bruce thing?
I added that.
Okay, you want to tell us about that?
Again, let's go back to I/O. Right before I/O, we got these reports that there was supposed to be a Google Wallet card, and that Larry Page himself, at the 11th hour, kind of squashed the whole program and said this isn't ready for prime time. And we don't really know what the details of that were, but he ended up saying we're not going to run with this. The report was that it was pretty much ready to go for I/O. Had he pulled the trigger, he did not. Shortly thereafter, the guy who was heading up Google Wallet stepped down. Didn't say that he stepped down because he was embarrassed or didn't have the right leadership or whatever the case, but stepped down nonetheless. We kind of wrote off the Google Wallet card at that point. We didn't really know what it was exactly, but today they came out with the actual physical card. What's important to remember about this is it's really a prepaid debit card. You can use your wallet balance with this. There's no strong indication that you're going to be able to take the cards, your credit cards that you have linked to your wallet account, and use your wallet card as kind of like, I don't know if everybody's seen Coin that's popped up, where you kind of put all your cards into this little credit card apparatus. But it's not going to, if you have another Visa card linked to your Google Wallet account, you're not going to be able to just take your wallet card and use that Visa. It's going to act like a prepaid debit card, which has a lot of use cases, but probably not a day-to-day use case.
I think there are people who could use it in a day-to-day use case. I still think it's odd, though, that it's only going to be applying to your Google Wallet balance and not act as a proxy for other credit cards, which is what the NFC-based Google Wallet does. So
Right.
So now we're in the odd position that we're talking about Google Wallet Google Wallet and Google Wallet, all completely different products.
Yep, it's that's a really good point. That they are kind of radically different products at this point. I felt that it was, and they could grow that. I don't know that this could be kind of a beta program for Google Wallet physical card. But I agree with you. I think that it should have. I've got cards linked to my Google Wallet account for a purpose, and one of those purposes was for making NFC payments that you just can't do because nobody's set up for it. But the physical card should be just a physical manifestation of your Google Wallet account, and it's not. It's just a prepaid card, which, again, has use cases, but at the same time, you can kind of do that with any bank.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising. I think I'm wondering just how much of the choice of it launching now is because Coin came out, was being talked about a week or two ago, and they're trying to leverage that news.
That could be. No, one thing I did think about later on in the day was it kind of feels like it's almost like PayPal-ish. You can get PayPal and you can get that card that when somebody pays you, you can put it on your PayPal card. It almost feels PayPal-ish to me.
Yeah, and that ties in with one of the other Google Wallets.
Right, exactly. The Google Wallet program for merchandisers or whatever.
Yeah, okay. Lame.
Yeah, I'm not
Next,
excited.
Dan.
Like I said, it's got use cases. I mean, if you've got kids and you want to basically put them on an allowance or something like that, or you got kids in college, hey, I'm going to send you some money, put it on your card, whatever. It's great for those kind of situations, prepaid travel card, but day to day, it's just not going to be that big a deal.
Okay,
agree.
so
What's next, Dan?
okay, I got a question. I got a guy, one of my graphic designers. He one's local, one lives in North Carolina, and to mail him a paycheck takes sometimes 2-3 days, which shouldn't, because the post service keeps bitching that they don't have enough mail to send, and why do they take 3 days? That's why no one uses them. But that's a whole different topic, more of a Friday topic. But I pay him sometimes with PayPal. I'll just very quickly and easily, I figure the hours and the pay, and then he's a contractor, so I just send him the money, and in PayPal, and in like 3 days it shows up in his bank. So that's very convenient. I think some companies like Walmart, maybe not Walmart, but some of them have a prepaid Visa, and when they just load your card up, that's how you get paid. A debit card or some kind of prepaid Visa card, whatever it is. What is the advantage of Google Wallet over simply having my wallet and my Visa debit card, which I use constantly, online and in person? I don't
To be
understand.
clear, Dan, to be clear, when you say Google Wallet, do you mean Google Wallet, or Google Wallet?
We could discuss this in a Hangout or a Hangout. Or
Yeah,
a
We could.
Hangout,
This is true.
Or send me a Hangout message.
right?
But no, I'm serious, Dan. You need to be clear about which Google Wallet you're talking about. Are you talking about this card?
Oh my God. I hope Craig's watching. I can
Dan,
just imagine his reaction.
Yep.
We should get
Focus.
a little, with no audio, just him in the thing rolling his eyes in the bottom, like,
Dan, focus, please. Are you talking about this card, or are you talking about one of the other Google Wallet products?
I don't know. I don't know.
And therein lies the problem.
And I host
do you
2 tech
remember the
shows every
question?
week. I mean, I'm no Alan and Nate, I'm no genius like you guys. I just look good and talk good. But you guys, oh my God, I don't understand this Google Wallet. I mean, and I can't use it anywhere. I think there's one store I saw it, Radio Shack.
Okay, so you're talking about the NFC Google Wallet, not to be confused with the card Google Wallet or the merchant service Google Wallet.
C.
Next topic, Dan.
So I'm that totally makes sense to me now. I'm sold. Okay, as soon as I save up to get the Samsung Gear, I'm gonna get a Google Wallet. All right. What if they have a wallet with the Google logo on their webpage? That could be the fourth. All right. Next up. You already have a time code for? Did we do the now conversational thing yet?
No, I just put the time code in because we were about to begin it. Ask the question.
Oh, I was being conversational. Sorry. Okay. Google Now gets conversational, asks for extra info with certain tasks. This is the first of a two-part special dual topic on Google Now. Since we had 3 topics on Wallet, we're going to have 2 on Now. So, Nate, this was your story. I'm basically just plagiarizing the Android community website.
You
this
are, and we
program.
appreciate it. Yeah, Google Now, we saw, I'll go back to I/O again. We saw this on stage at I/O where the presentation was, she was down at, I think, the San Jose Pier or something like that, and said, how far is such and such from here? And Google knew where here was. Or if you say, give me directions to the Empire State Building, and it'll give you directions to the Empire State Building. And you can say, how far is Philadelphia from there? And it'll know that, there meant the Empire State Building. But now Google Now has been updated a little bit to, you can say, send a text message. Who do you want to send the text message to? Send it to this, and you could do that with all kinds of things. It's basically learning that it's becoming just a little bit more conversational and learning that when you say send a text message, it's going, okay, I know to send a text message. You didn't give me complete instructions, and I'm going to ask for further information, which is as great as it is scary.
Now is one of the coolest freaking things Google's
It is.
ever
It's
done.
very cool.
It's awesome. Like what Alan was talking about, how Apple's, I forget what they call it, but they're starting to pick up on that stuff.
The notification center.
Yeah, it knows on Sundays that I do karaoke. It knows,
Google Now does the same thing. It knows where you travel, when you travel, it
Yeah.
gives you the updates.
That's what I mean. Now knows. It knows on Sundays I go to the bar, unlike what most people do on Sundays. Sunday nights I go to the bar for karaoke. And fear not, Gilbert. A quick comment from Gilbert. He says, "Oh no, I didn't know you were going to be on tonight. It was last minute because he couldn't do it. He was in Google. Did I miss the Alan rant of the day? Sadly, Gilbert, Alan cannot rant because there are children present, and normally he just rants when there are cats present. But he's in an airport and he's afraid of getting arrested."
Yeah,
In San
Gilbert,
Francisco-
I was at Google yesterday and Monday as well, and now I'm in SFO waiting for my flight out of here. So I'm trying to be a little more quiet, despite the fact there are like 3 people staring at me nastily at the moment.
He's actually
And
on a
2 of
trip.
them just laughed at that line. So
He's actually purchasing cocaine for his freshman congressman. But the cover story is he was at a Google event, which we're going to talk about at the end of the show. So anyway, so Now is amazing. It's smart and it's helpful and it just does it. You just go to Google and it's there. You don't have to set it up. It just knows, And this is an argument. I mean, I know they're all those people who freak out about, they're being tracked and everything. I like, follow me around, Google, know and give me relevant information and tell me if there's a traffic tie-up and I got to leave earlier. It's not irrelevant to me, but it is.
Yeah,
if
the
you work in
interesting thing
city.
is that I think I read an article last night that's saying Vint Cerf, who credited as inventing the internet, said that privacy is kind of an anomaly at this point. There's nothing that you really do or can do to make yourself any more,
well, remember also
unapproachable.
remember who he's working for right now.
Oh, exactly. I understand all that.
But he's got a point, though. I know of a friend of mine, her brother has a tow company. And so every so often, what she does, she has this camera on her car, and she'll just drive through parking lots. And just as she drives, just at the normal rate of speed, you would go through Walmart or Big Lots or Best Buy or whatever, and then it'll start beeping if it finds one that's on the tow list. That someone, it's out to get towed because they've had a tow order because they haven't paid their car payment for 3 months or whatever it is. And so this is just some redneck friend of mine, girl with this in her car, this gadget that literally scans and notes every single license plate in the Walmart parking lot, and will beep if this one's on the list that they all share. So if Nate, if you had a tow order in Portland and you're here in Front Royal, they'll pick it up and they'll tow your car. It's not just the government, and it's not just the internet carriers. It's the local Bubba's Tow Company is spying on every single car in the Walmart parking lot. I mean, it's really Eric Schmidt and Vint Cerf are right that privacy is gone, but now is one use case where it's a good thing. Not
Yeah, I think
necessarily
that,
the privacy
I
thing,
agree.
but-
I agree that privacy is gone, but I also agree that it depends on how whoever has that information is using it. And I think Google now does a great job at using it responsibly. And they actually updated their website also to give everybody a better idea of just what Google Now is and does and what it's for. And with Google Now, with Android KitKat, hopefully we'll get to see this Google Now, special launcher on more devices, not just the Nexus 5 at some point. But Google Now is becoming a very, very centric part of Android, and I think they want people to understand exactly what it is and what they're getting into and how useful it can become. And they've updated the website to give a much better idea of exactly what it is. It's not just a very text-based website anymore where it's just, oh, you will see this. They're actually going to show you now, which is good because a lot of people don't really understand kind of the card interface, and they don't really understand what they're getting into. I mean, they hear the sensational things like, Google Now watches you and reads your emails and all these kinds of things, and, that's entirely true. The difference is what it uses it for, and it doesn't just use it for, advertising. It also uses it to help you out in your day-to-day life, and I think that's why they updated the website, and I think they did a really good job of giving a good idea of what Now really is.
Okay,
Awesome.
excellent. And then you want to intro the second part?
He just did.
But
Okay.
didn't I'm done, Dan.
Okay, so I'm
Move
obviously
on. Move on to our big story.
caught my pants down here. Next up, do we want to save this next topic because it's his app? You just want to
No,
hold
you
off?
can talk about it. I'll talk about it quickly.
Go ahead, and then you can talk about the news aspect of it, and then you can demo it as your recommended app.
Well, Google took Play magazines, and then they took Currents, and they rolled them together and called it Google Newsstand. The interesting part to it is you can now get news publications as a subscription. So you can get a subscription to like the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, LA Times, whatever, these kinds of things. But you'll also still get the magazines. In addition to all that, you'll get information from Google Currents kind of rolled into that. So it's basically this conglomerate of information now. I compare it to, in my article, I compared it to iOS's newsstand. The difference is that Google just still does not have the media. They need more media, plain and simple. They've pretty severely pinched iOS's newsstand, which is fine. Everybody borrows from one another, but the difference is iOS just plain and simple has more media, and Google needs to get a lot more media to make this thing worthwhile. People will go there because if you're using Currents, you're going to use this now, but by and large, it still falls well short of its competition.
Now, as I understand it, one of its features is that it can get media sources not just from the Play Store itself, so you can get free media directly from the sites.
Yeah, just like Currents did.
Did anyone use Currents?
I used Currents for a little while, but it was always running in the background and kind of a battery hog, so I stopped using it. Plus, I moved to a more RSS thing, so I used Feedly, but it's interesting, but again, it's just they lack the media that makes these kinds of things interesting and worthwhile.
It's basically a Flipboard ripoff, right? Or is it? Or
it
Current
is.
was a poor Flipboard ripoff, which is why they're dumping it. I feel bad for all those people because they said if you get X number of subscribers, then they'll feature you or show you up in the list. And all these people were trying to get subscribers when it first came out, and I played with it for like 5 minutes, and I was like, and then Flipboard. I don't know if Flipboard came out before or after, but Flipboard's a far superior product to Currents, in my humble opinion.
It absolutely is.
Tell you what, wake me up when Play Movies and YouTube get integrated, and they almost are. But when the apps actually get integrated, then you can wake me up on this.
So you're even more excited than you were about our first topic, that
I am
6-inch by
overflowing
8-inch
with
watch.
excitement.
Marcus Nugent, the following guest, Francis.
He loves it.
Okay. I keep trying to sneak in another link here, and you guys keep catching me off guard. Okay, so next up, Android users moving to iOS at a record level. Was this yours, Nate, or did I put this in?
You put that one in.
Okay, so this was just interesting. It's a chart. Oh, okay, but this is your story, so you can intro it. You can tell me. We're seeing more people. We're seeing a resurgence. I've seen this. I've seen people, for whatever reason, say, you know what, I'm just going to get a freaking iPhone, or I'm going to get an iPad or a Mac.
Well,
And I've thought about. I mean, this is unrelated, but it is not really. It's unrelated. I'm looking and drooling over this the new Mac Pro, which will do. It looks like the Death Star thing, but it'll do 3 4K monitors. And they had some big name movie producer saying, "Oh my God, I can edit 4K in real time." In 2013, and it'll you can put 3 4K monitors, or you could have 6 1080p monitors on this computer that's like smaller than a 2-liter bottle of Coke. It's just
You
mind
can
boggling.
probably have 10 640 by 480 monitors, Dan, but none of that's relevant to the subject.
I'm just
I think
saying.
with this-
I'm
I
trying
think
to
with-
illustrate that Apple's is not the company that hasn't innovated since Steve Jobs died. That it's cast by some of our fellow Android fanboys.
Well, then that's just the thing. You can listen to the fanboys who say they don't innovate, they're dead in the water, blah blah blah. I think what this really speaks to for me is, I mean, this came just after the 5S and 5C launched, and I think what you see is, I think a lot more people are OS agnostic than we would like to believe. I mean, if you go on, I like to call Google Plus the Android reality distortion field, because that's exactly what it is. Nobody on there is realistic or kind of accurate about what's going on. It's all very sensational. But
I
you've
think
got a lot
there
of
are lots of people that are, Nate. You just your circles aren't. I see plenty of people who talk very favorably about Mac products.
I do. I'm just saying that there's a lot of people that don't, and they don't
I'll
really.
agree with you there.
They don't
But-
have an understanding of exactly what they're talking about.
Service the last board.
Okay.
Alan's got a plane to catch. So I think what this is kind of signifying is that there's a lot more people that are OS agnostic than anything else. I just bought an iPad Mini in lieu of a Nexus 7, and I'm enjoying that a lot. I still have my Android phone, obviously, but I'm enjoying iOS quite a bit, actually. So I think what you're seeing here is that it's just the ebb and flow of what's going on. This is, people are going to iOS in record numbers, and then after the Nexus 5, you'll see Android grow a little bit. It's just the ebb and flow.
Well, and that's it. The way I read the story was, yes, people are going from Android to iOS, but Android still grew in the same time period, and it grew because it got the new users to smartphones, while iOS got the people who were looking to upgrade. And it's not
Right.
that this is necessarily a bad thing. It's that, right now Android offers no higher-end phone, really. And the higher-end phones aren't very good, aren't significantly better than the lower-end phones.
That's true, and that's accurate. It's just, it's also, while I believe a lot of it has to do with people that are OS agnostic, you're right, has a lot to do with scale, too. And how does Android grow from whatever it was to over 1 billion activations? I mean, that's just all scale. People come from feature phones, they get into smartphones. How they do that is, whatever they do. Usually they get lower-end Android phones because that's what's available. They don't really want to make the financial, they may not want to or may not be able to make that financial commitment to something as expensive as an iPhone. So that's where they end up, and that's fine. Apple's got their core group, and that's who they're servicing, and the rest of us are either along for the ride or we're not.
I think it makes sense because there are some apps that are only on Android. There are some apps that are only on iOS. Some of them are very cool, and I've gotten frustrated a few times. Damn, that I can't get that on my Android device. You've got the best of both worlds. You've got your phone, which is you love, and it's an Android phone, and then you've got your iOS tablet, and so you're not limited anyway, really.
No, I'm not limited anyway, and I agree with you. There's a lot of things that over time you see go to iOS, and it gets very, very frustrating as an Android user to see something go to iOS. And I'm not really going to get into the what, how, and why of why that happens right now, but it's really frustrating as a user to see something go to iOS but not Android, or go to iOS and then months later come to Android. It gets very frustrating. I don't have that problem anymore, obviously, but it's still frustrating.
Okay. So now you've got everything. You're
Now I've got it all.
even Dr. Dre on your head.
I think you're just jealous.
I am. Okay, cool. So,
Our recommended apps of the week.
Alan Furstenberg, do you have a recommended app of the week? And then
My recommended app
after
of the
that,
week-
we've got
my
to talk
recommended-
about your trip.
My recommended app of the week, before another announcement comes on the air and I need to shut my microphone off again, is Drive, the Drive shortcut widget. This is a widget I discovered earlier this week since I was referencing a whole lot of documents. It was going to be a pain to open up Drive and search to find the exact one that I wanted.
Anyone
So
have small children?
So Alan knows now that the white zone is for immediate loading and unloading of passengers only, and that there is no parking in the white
no,
zone.
that's the red zone.
Oh, is it? They changed the colors on me.
So what I was able to do is set up Drive shortcuts to the specific files that I wanted. I was able to put it right on a home page, and I could very quickly and easily, one tap, get into the document that I needed at any given time. Fast, easy Drive shortcut widgets. It should be installed if you've got Google Drive on your phone, and you should. Next to you, Nate.
My recommended app of the week, and I won't do a screen share because it's kind of acting up on me, this Google Hangouts. I'm going to recommend Newsstand. I'm going to recommend Newsstand because I think that people should give it a shot, see if you like it, see if it's for you. There are other options out there, but I think with what Currents was and what Play Magazines was, I think that this is a pretty decent cobbling together of the two. The UI is nice. It's easy to find your subscriptions to magazines. I have one subscription, and it makes things pretty easy to find. It makes it easy to shop for, so give it a shot. Why not?
Cool. Okay. I have several I'm going to recommend. And Nate and Alan, I emailed you what I'm going to screen share to the audience so you can see what I'm talking about, except for my app, which I've got in the link. But I did this neat thing for Ken Burns at PBS, his project, the Learn the Address. And he was because the Gettysburg Address was delivered on the 19th of November, 150 years ago yesterday. And it was printed, an AP reporter. And there's a controversy, which I'll briefly say, like in 10 seconds. Obama omitted under God in his address. Ken Burns said on the website that he asked him to do the very first version. And I'm actually writing a long form piece on this. The first two versions did not have that in there. The third, fourth, and fifth versions did. And it's believed that Lincoln did say it. But he was asked to deliver the first version, and he did verbatim, every single word, and it didn't have it in there. So unless you want to believe there's a broad conspiracy to troll the right-wing media, I'll take them at their word. But anyway, so I recorded the Gettysburg Address. So I had some neat tools that I want to show you. I've recommended a teleprompter before, but I want to show you this next, a new one I found, which has pros and cons. The last one was a two-part thing where you could control it on your phone, and then your tablet was the prompter, or vice versa, whatever you want to do. But you could scroll up and down with your phone as you were reading, if you're like a one-man band. But this is by Listec. It's called Promptware Plus, and I've got a link below, and I'll show you what it looks like here. I've got the. This is actually what I read. This is the Gettysburg Address. It's one of my lights there. 7 years ago, and you see it's got an optional bar there to kind of keep your eyes focused. And what you want to do is, and if you look on my profile, and look at me reading it, it's just the thumbnail is just me in front of the screen. I just read the Gettysburg Address, and this is a project to encourage people to learn the address and to learn why it's important. And I'm a former high school teacher, so I'm for this. So I did it along with Barack Obama, Jerry Seinfeld, Andrew C.K., two other living former presidents, Jimmy Kimmel, Conan, a lot of people. So and it just keeps looping, right? So if you screw up the first take, you just wait, and by the third or fourth take, you'll get it. So it's neat. And then the second thing I'm recommending is this little gizmo, and this will be handy for Nate, who's kind of up in his video game. This thing we talked about multiple times, but I always bring it up again. So I had this on a tripod, and then you just tighten it, and it'll hold a phone or a tablet, what have you, right? So that's a physical thing I'm recommending. It's a very handy device if you ever need to use your Android phone, your iPhone, for all our iPhone viewers of the Android show. Then this is a great little tool to have in your bag. And then what I do is, and if you want to test this product, look at my video given the Gettysburg Address, because I'm using this. It's not over. I have a real big teleprompter, but I didn't have it set up. So what I did was I just set this on a tripod directly behind the camera, about 2 feet behind the camera and slightly up. So I'm just barely looking up above my C920 camcorder, about 2.5, 3 feet back at this teleprompter. And if I hadn't pointed it out to you, I doubt you could tell that I wasn't looking into the camera. So you don't need my fancy teleprompter. You can get by with this, and you can do it in the field, right? So that gets to the second point, and there's 3 products I want to show you here. And I'm not making money from Digital Juice, but I bought this today.
Attention on the concourse.
This is the Digital Juice. It's a fantastic deal. I don't know how long this deal is going to go, but it's the cheapest I've seen. I haven't gotten it yet, so I'm just alerting you to it, but I haven't tested it, and of course I'll update later. But it's a limited time thing. They always have specials. Their regular list price, they mark up to mark down. This is a 7-inch field monitor for on-camera use. It's got the monitor, it's got a battery, it's got the charger, it's got a case, it's got the sunshade, and the mount to go into your hot shoe for $269, which is a hell of a deal. I was looking on Amazon at B&H, and this is just a really, assuming it's not crap, it's a really good deal. And they also had specials on some other gear. I got an email about them that I'm probably going to end up buying all 3 of them. One is this sharpshooter kit for DSLR, and it's got the matte box, it's got the poles, it's got the follow focus. This is what it looks like. So you got your follow focus, and then there's like a thing that wraps around your thing, so you can use your left hand there to do your focus, because I hate it's kind of awkward. And then you got the matte box, and then the shoulder thing, and this is $2 something, and it's not normally this cheap. And then the second thing I thought was really cool that I'm probably going to get is this light kit. This is more money. This is like $600, but it's 3 completely battery powered lights on stands. They're LEDs. I think it's the equivalent of 200s. I forget, but it's pretty bright, and it's really portable, which I like. It's all battery powered, comes with the chargers and everything, and that's like $600. So I get a lot of my stuff from Digital Juice. Again, I'm not sponsored by them. I don't make any money from them, but that's where I get like the video intros that I use and the music that I use, and then I just have to edit, the templates and stuff. Like for the intro for this program came from them. It's really a neat for the prosumer level market, right? You're not NBC News, but you're not some kid with a budget of $5. You got a halfway decent camera and you want to up your game. They got some neat stuff there. So I would recommend you check all those things out. And I've got links in the topic doc now, and then when I post the video, I'll have it in the description. But Nate, I think that's some cool stuff. I think you'd enjoy.
Nate's network fell asleep.
Did he really fall asleep?
Nate's network fell asleep. So
Oh,
did
okay.
mine, for that matter, but I rebooted.
But and the kids have been boarded to the plane, so hopefully.
Yes.
All right. Well, so Alan, you are in San Francisco International Airport. You were at a Google event, and we'll talk more about that on Friday on Google Plus Week at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. But why don't you give us a little preview of did you have fun? What was it like? That's not the first time you've been to the campus proper, is it?
No, it wasn't my first visit to campus. I was able to get a tour last May when I was here for IL from a friend. I was here this time for the Google Developer Experts Summit, where we had about seven.
You're okay. Just keep going.
where we had about 75 or so developer experts from around the world meet up with our program managers at Google HQ. So that was fun. I got to talk to a number of members of the Google Plus developer relations team. They outnumbered us like 6-3. Got to meet up with some program managers from other areas that I've worked with in the past and been interested in, and more importantly, I got to meet up with a bunch of really smart, brilliant people in their subject areas. So, relevant to this show, I was speaking with a bunch of Android developers. We were chatting about what they were doing, what problems they were encountering with Google Plus sign-in. They were sharing with me some insights. We were talking about Glass and where that was going. Talked with YouTube people. The YouTube people and the Google Plus people had a lot of fun chatting with each other. You'll hear more about that on Friday. Talked with the Drive people. So it was a lot of good cross discussion about
Is it
what
like
what we were doing.
It's obviously it's less formal than I/O.
It's worlds less formal. It literally is you're sitting down with people at a desk in a conference room.
So talk about access, and building
Yeah.
relationships and networking.
That's what it is, and that's what it was all about. Is the one-on-ones, the very personal connections, such that now for the rest of the year, if I've got a question about Google Maps, I know who to talk to because my friend is that person, and I can reach out to him. And if he's got a question about Google Plus login, he can reach out to me. Those are the kinds of connections that you create, that you build, and that can sustain now over the distance. And once a year or twice a year, we'll meet up and renew the friendships and talk about what we're doing now and meet new people, and establish those kinds of connections.
Now, also, we learned that you have the first hangout. If anyone's interested in help out, if anyone's interested in becoming a developer for the Google Glass platform, it's obviously a fairly niche market. There's so few people who have it.
And yet I've already got 2 people who have tried to book times with me.
That's great. So you're listed in the help outs.
I'm listed in the help outs now, and for those of you who tuned into our Friday night show, who tuned in last Friday night, you heard some of my tales of woe. This Friday night, you're going to hear more stories about it.
Awesome. So that's great. So you had good. Did you get lots of cool Google food?
What was that? Cool Google food?
Yeah. Did you eat at the main cafeterias or lavish restaurants or whatever the hell? I guess they have all the above. Okay, so he's announcements are going on. So he is. This is what they do with the weatherman. See on TV, they go like this. They go like this.
Stretch. Yeah.
And then they go. This means hurry up, get done.
So yeah, we ate at at various Google cafeterias a couple of times. The food was, as always, excellent. They really do treat their employees there incredibly well.
Have you gained any weight?
Well, I don't know. We'll find out just how much weight I gained when I get home tomorrow morning.
Okay, awesome. And also, if any of you watching have kids who are One Direction fans, there's a neat thing. Just look. I didn't share it, but our friends Bradley Horowitz and Amit Foley. If you just Google One Direction, do a search on Google Plus for One Direction. They're gonna the kids in the band are gonna be popping in miscellaneous hangout parties. I don't know if you have to do a certain hashtag to attract their attention or when they're doing it or any details, but I'm sure they're in the post. I saw it today, but I'm not a One Direction fan, so but I think it's cool that they're doing this, and so if your kids or whoever is interested in One Direction, you should look for those posts, and maybe one of those little teeny boppers will pop in your daughter's hangout and make her day. There'll be lots of pulling of hair and screaming and gnashing of teeth, I'm sure. So,
but if not, you can always join our hangout on Friday night, 8:30 Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. And what's that show, Dan?
Google Plus Week, the longest running show on Google Plus. Also the longest running show on Google Plus.
And if you just can't get enough of Android, we've got our Android Week, 9 p.m. Eastern on Mondays, most of the time. 6 p.m. Eastern Pacific.
Yeah, I apologize for the late notice for this program, but I was I literally had no panel Monday night because Alan was at Google, Nate was mobile, couldn't do it, Bruce had a family issue, Duke was incommunicado, Michael was in class. So I was afraid I would be so bad. I was running the risk of creating a new internet meme if I tried to do the show by myself and just, a monologue. So I was like, okay, we'll wait till Tuesday. But then I forget what happened Tuesday. And then today you were available, and so we just did it. So I apologize for folks who didn't know. But hopefully you'll watch later or listen. Okay, so thank you very much, Alan Furstenberg at San Francisco Airport. Tell your new friends hello, and thanks for putting up with our little program.
My new friends all left. They all boarded the plane. There's nobody here anymore.
Oh, well, no one to gawk at you, alas. So, folks watching, thank you very much. We appreciate it. This is, we'll be back Monday night, hopefully, at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific Time, for another exciting episode of Our Android Week.